Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Share Your Story with Ellie. I'm your host, Ellie B, and I'm so thrilled you chose to spend a little bit of time with me. Today is October 1st, and I can hardly believe we've fully entered into fall, especially because here in Florida, we are still reaching 90 degrees. But it's just crazy that another season is upon us. So before we jump all the way into all of the goodness of October, I wanted to share with you some of my September favorites. I have really loved starting to do these episodes and sharing with you some of the things that I'm loving and sharing those with you. A lot of times I get a text like, yeah, I've been into that too, or this is a fun suggestion. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed that. So back with a little bit more of that. I've got 5 categories for you today: music, sermons that I've really loved recently, food, which is kind of a lame category this time, but still feels important, style, and lastly, beauty. So starting with music, I have been playing over and over and over again songs from Aiden King. I spoke about him a few episodes ago. He released a song with Paul Klein, who is the lead singer of Lainey. They released a song called Thank You, Jesus, and Thank You So Much, Jesus. And it is this really amazing worship song. And Aiden has been a part of Hillsong Worship for a long time, but as Hillsong has all kind of gone their separate ways, he is about to release his first new album. So he's been releasing a couple of songs at a time. I have been playing these songs on repeat, just while I walk, while I'm in the kitchen making a meal. There's only 3 of them, or 4, I guess, actually now. And I just cycle through them over and over and over again. My favorite one that really sticks out to me right now is the song Without You. So please add it to a playlist or listen to all of them, and definitely stay tuned for his album because I know I'm going to have it on my repeats list this year. Secondly, I will talk about Saturated a lot, but Saturated is a church conference we have at Church of 1122, where I'm a church member. And it's 5 days of preaching and worship and just awesomeness. Like there's just a richness to going and meeting with the Lord every single day and just gaining more wisdom and just celebrating alongside people who also want to dig deeper into the word. And the Saturated playlist has been something that I've continually gone back to. I think conference moments are important because it's when we are setting aside what feels like our normal day-to-day activities to fully pay attention to what God has for us and praise him for who he really is. I think, like anything, when we turn our focus and attention onto something specific, it gets louder and deeper. It's like that concept when you want to buy a car and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere because that's what's on your mind and you're paying attention to it. So this separate time of Saturated is so important because it's just that you get saturated in the word of God and worship with God and in community with people who are also just desperate to know him and know him deeper. So the Saturated playlist is a song of curated worship songs that we sing throughout Saturated, but also ones that just kind of are around that same attitude of, God, we want to hear you and see you more. But specifically a song that's stuck out to me in that is a song called Tear Off the Roof. And it's a beautiful song, and the sentiment in it is just really important. Just whatever it takes, get me to Jesus. And I actually have it's a long story, but there's a really important dream that God gave me and really spoke to me through after hearing a sermon at Saturated 2 years ago about the woman who bled for 12 years. And that's a sermon, honestly, I can link to as well. I may have linked to it before, but it's just really, really powerful, and it changed my perspective in a lot of things. But in this song specifically, there's a verse that says, I didn't come here to hide in the crowd. I'm pressing through to you. I don't care how. Reaching out my hand to get the healing. I've got a faith beyond the bleeding because I didn't come here to hide in the crowd. And in this dream God gave me, I remember afterwards talking about it with someone and saying, gosh, I don't know if I can wait another 2 years about this thing. And what God really reminded me in singing the song surrounded by so many people is, even in the midst of the story in the Gospels that is the woman who bled for 12 years. All she did was reach for him. She knew that he was the only answer. And singing the song with people just reminded me that he sees me in the midst of that I'm still reaching towards him. So yeah, that song definitely absolutely stream. Lastly, this is like a fall and winter thing, and why that is, I'm not even entirely sure, because they're great all the time. But there's a artist and pianist named John McLaughlin. If you've been to our house, you know that we have a framed picture, me and Kelsey with John at this small venue in St. Augustine. Love listening to his podcast with Dave Barton's called Dadville. No, I'm not a dad. Will never be a dad, but they're hysterical. And honestly, I still learn so much from it. But John is this incredible pianist, and he released a series of, I guess, records, but they're shorter, maybe like EPs that are just him playing piano. And it reminds me a lot of when growing up, my mom loved instrumental music, specifically like we would listen to a lot of Hans Zimmer. The soundtrack from The Holiday, I know, was a really big one, or just pianist that was just constantly floating through our house. It's just a vivid memory I have of always having music on in the background, especially music that was just timelessly beautiful. And these songs that John released have just very whimsical titles. They're like waltzing, dancing, thinking. They're just beautiful. I don't think thinking is actually one of them, but you get the point. They're amazing. And it really comes out for me in fall, I think, because over the last few years, it became like a fall nightly rhythm. Fall and winter, I guess. We would put on the crackling fire sound on Netflix of that like log that just burns and sounds like you can hear it burning, with a candle, read a book, and then also have soft John McLaughlin music playing. It's like setting the mood, setting the tone, setting the vibe. And it's so beautiful, but also for me is a really good background at work or cooking or any of that. So definitely make sure to check that out. And Kelsey actually made a playlist where all of them are on one. I think we need to add mood 3 to that, because at the time it was just mood 1 and mood 2, but absolutely beautiful. Such good, just, it makes you feel like you're living inside of a movie kind of. Next category is sermons. And 2 of these are, I mean, technically 3 if we count the sermon I talked about earlier, but 2 of these are very saturated heavy. The first being from Ben Stewart at Saturated. Ben Stewart is one of my absolute favorite pastors. I have been following him since college when he was the head of college ministry at Texas A&M. And he is now the lead pastor at Passion City, DC. So the fact that he has come to preach at 1122 a couple of times is just, even that is just a God story in and of itself. I've really learned so much from him and love the way he teaches and preaches. But this sermon during Saturated was really, really beautiful. And he talked about the power, the purpose, and the priorities of Jesus. And similarly to that song, Tear Off the Roof, he also talked through the story of the woman who bled for 12 years. And part of it, that wasn't the whole thing. A lot of it, he focuses on when Jesus calms the storm with the disciples, but when they're on the boat. But I think he talks a lot about how, as a culture right now, we really lack awe, which is necessary for human development. Like those moments where we stand completely mesmerized by something and feel so much smaller. And that kind of realigns our significance and makes us celebrate and worship something that is bigger than us. And so then he really walks through the power, the purpose, and the priorities of Jesus, and how Jesus is Lord, whether you believe that or not. He just is. That is a fact of life. And it was just really realigning. And I just think he's such an incredibly strong Bible teacher. So definitely give that a listen. The next one is also from Saturated. Derwin Gray is a former NFL football player, and he pastors a church in North Carolina. And the passion at which he talks about his story, because he came to know Jesus not late in life, but later. And he just has such a fervor that I really, really admire. But he the whole subject of the sermon was talking about when you're lit up from within with Jesus' love, how does that change how you encounter the rest of the world around you? And one key question that I thought was really beautiful and have stuck with me, he asked, is your heart broken for the one who should be your enemy? And in today's world that can feel really divisive, especially in the current political climate in America, a lot of times it feels like if you don't believe what I believe, if you don't think how I think, if you don't vote how I vote, whatever that looks like for you, then you are my enemy. And I think instead of his question begs just that compassion that Jesus showed, and that should be well within us by the fruits of the Spirit when we are walking with the Lord, that instead of being enemies on opposite sides with people all the time, like, does our heart break for the things that pain them? The whole sermon was really, really beautiful. So that is one definitely to put on your list. And then lastly, you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 100 times. I will continue to say it as often as possible, but the Bible study by Paige Brown is just far and above what is challenging me and discipling me. I think she is just a phenomenal teacher and just so humble in the way she delivers things. But we are currently going through Joshua and Judges. So it's about halfway through, but usually there's a catch-up week where you can go through and listen to a bunch of sermons. So I'll be sure to post the link. The current one is only available through the end of today. And you can sign up to subscribe to get an email notification every time the sermons come out. But the discipline of having to listen in and tune in when it's only available for a week has been super important for me. And the depth at which she goes in each scripture. We just read a paragraph, or the whole chapter 1 in Judges, which seems like a bunch of property lines and conquering, and what does this even mean? And as she slows it down and zooms out to see the fuller picture of the story of the arc of God and his redemption story for the world, it's just mind-blowing. So if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times, and I will continue to say it 100 times. Paige Brown and her series are awesome. And I believe there's only a couple weeks left in the fall series, but she usually will come back in the spring to do another series if you feel like you want to jump in then. And don't worry, I will remind you for sure. Next category seems kind of lame and short, but food. But it's just, as we transition into fall, there's a few things that stick out to me as things that just feel like fall. First and foremost is chili. I'm a big chili girl, but I specifically love the Skinny Taste white bean turkey chili. I think I could eat that definitely not breakfast, but I could eat it lunch and dinner for probably a week straight and not get tired of it. I love to dress it up with avocado and crunched up Fritos. It is so good, and it gets better the longer, like over a week if you're eating it for lunches or something and storing it. Nothing says fall and winter to me like a chili. So that one is far and above my favorite. I don't even think I've made red meat chili in a long time, just because this one is so flavorful and so good. Another kind of bank of recipes recently, I have used some of her recipes before, but I think the Instagram account, as well as her website, she also has a cookbook, Brock Your Body. She's been killing the fall recipes that are super simple, healthy, high protein, all of those things, but they don't feel complex or like you have to buy 100 ingredients. It's things that you could have lying around or you could reuse the next week. But I recently made a fall skillet by her, and it had sage and rosemary in it, and tasting it sweet potatoes and kale and turkey and all this good stuff. It tasted like fall. And I just made a soup recipe of hers this week too that was really great. So her website just has a lot of really good stuff on it right now, especially fall themed, that are super easy. And last but not least, this seems really lame, but fall season is also apple season, and I am a girly who loves a Honeycrisp apple, especially with peanut butter. And if you haven't ever had it before, the honey roasted peanut butter from Fresh Market will change your life. It's like a dessert. It's so good. The consistency, you have to get the honey roasted fresh ground though. It is so good. That is my favorite little snack. Annie also loves an apple, so we typically share an apple and I dip it in the peanut butter for me. And yeah, just can't recommend it enough. Like something so simple that we used to have all the time that I'm reintroducing back into my life. Not that it ever went that far. Um, Moving on to style, I am overall loving that over the past couple of years, we've shifted back into just classics, basics, nothing too outlandish or majorly trendy. The biggest trending things are like what sneakers are cool or whatever, but we've gone back to like these classic silhouettes. And as I wouldn't say a closeted preppy girl, but I used to be significantly more on the wearing too much Lily Pulitzer train, which I will never go back there. But um, I love just like classic timeless pieces that last for a while. So things that are really sticking out to me. One is this deep brown, this espresso color in everything. Sweaters. Recently got a skirt from Zara that is like sequined in this dark brown. I love it. So seeing brown as the big highlight color and everything, I like that it's a neutral, but there's a richness to it. So that's what I'm being pulled to as I look through everything is just chocolate tones. Adding to that is leopard print, which when you start looking things up, everyone's like, leopard's so in, leopard is so in. It was never out for me. I've always considered leopard like another neutral, which sounds insane, but like I've had this leopard skirt, I think from Nordstrom for probably 6 years, 7 years. It's never gone out of style on me. I wear it all the time, but it's even more in style now. So leopard everything, I'm really into it. I think it helps being a Jags fan that it's just kind of always available in our closets, but really loving that return to leopard print. And then thirdly, the classic style of tights and boots. I think there is nothing prettier than wearing a pair of tights with boots. Especially love that tall boots are coming back. I also would never, ever, ever give away or like take boots to Goodwill because I always know whatever style is in this year, it's going to come back. So I am super happy to recycle some of my old styles and glad that they are back in this year. Last category is beauty. And these are kind of all over the place, but hear me out. The first and most important one that I am so into is castor oil. And I hope that doesn't make me crazy. And yes, I found it on TikTok, but I swear to you, it has changed my life and also has made a very positive impact on both Mary Claire and Kelsey. A couple of months ago, I saw on TikTok that people were using it for moisturizer. It also helps with like, helping your eyebrows and eyelashes, I think, grow, but mixing a little bit with moisturizer. I was having such bad problems with my skin at the end of Labor Day, and maybe some of it is just sunscreen and all that. I have sensitive skin in general and I happen to have skin problems. Sorry, you don't need to know all of this, but I started using castor oil mixed in with some moisturizer at night. And I swear to you, my breakouts have ceased. Like I have never seen my skin so moisturize and not having any kind of breakout for, I mean, weeks, like consistent weeks in a row. And I can't even tell you how long. And Mary Claire is also very much singing the praises. Both of us are very concerned how we are going to bring our castor oil with us when we travel upcoming soon. So I cannot recommend it enough. And if I'll send the link to my specific one that I got just on Amazon. Secondly, is the Duo brush from Dibs. I've talked about Dibs before. I really like their products because they're really blendable and especially their contour and blush duo stick. But she has a brush that one side is for cream products, the other side is for powder. It's so soft, such high quality, and it blends everything so seamlessly. They're both bigger on each side, so you wouldn't use it necessarily for like concealer or anything like that, but like cream bronzer, cream blush, that sort of thing, and then all of your powders on the other side. It feels so luxurious, but really it's not expensive. So if you're in the market for a brush, that is one that I would definitely recommend because you kill two birds with one stone. And then last but not least, I mentioned, I think before, I really love the Day hair products, but weekly I've been better about doing a hair oil in the top of my hair and then a hair mask on the bottom ends of my hair just to keep my hair super hydrated, healthy, and growing. And I recently got from Target, it's a rosemary mask, rosemary oil. So it does kind of smell like you're in the kitchen when you're wearing it, but it really is amazing. I love it. And I feel like my hair has stayed consistently healthy. It feels just better. And as much as I've been out in the sun or in the pool or in the ocean, any of that, it just feels really healthy. And so I try to do that sometimes I'll wear it for an entire work day and then shower it off at night, or just for a couple of hours while I'm doing things around the house. But having those two little things makes it feel like I'm doing something extra for my hair, but it's not too much effort because I just wash it right out and my hair feels really healthy. So that's it, I think, on my September favorites. So those are some of the things that this month really stuck out to me as important or that I'm really loving. And I would love to hear what you're into right now. What are some of the things that stick out to you in any of those categories or anything beyond? So please make sure that you leave comments either in the box on Spotify after you listen or over on Instagram. I would love it if you would follow the podcast account and engage with me there. Like, what's really sticking out to you about episodes? What are you hoping to hear? Or what did you learn from an episode? Who's been your favorite guest? I love being able to actually talk to you about how the podcast is impacting you in some way or another. I'd love if you'd follow me on Instagram, TikTok, all the places. And I am hoping that there's an episode coming out this Thursday. We've had some scheduling back and forth with a guest who I think is going to be really awesome. So I am really hoping that is coming out on Thursday. But regardless, I know there's a lot of ways you could spend your time. So I'm really thankful that you are here. You're being a friend to me. And that hopefully these little recommendation episodes serve you in some way, shape, or form. I hope you have a really, really great week. I will talk to you soon.